Hey everyone, this is Alex Stryzak with my MPA 545 Week 7 presentation. So a quick overview of this presentation, we're going to be looking at designing systems for conflict management and some of the proposed ideas on how to handle conflict management, specifically in the public administrative field. So different dispute resolution designs, how to train management employees to handle conflict, as conflict does impede with productivity in the public administrative field. So the first reference I looked at was this idea that lessons can come from conflict resolution and public administration from the past. So looking at history, looking at different political parties, looking at different organizations, whether it be locally, whether it be nationally, but it's looking at the past of how these two have kind of sparred or negotiated in the past, whether it's been friendly, whether a deal wasn't reached in the past, and that one of the most important things when looking into a conflict management is to see what is the situation that you're going into. Is it going to be a difficult situation due to past experiences, or is this first communication, so it's important to get off on the right foot? But this article really showed the importance of designing a system for public administration that's best able to adapt to past mistakes that might have been made or past successes that might have been made. So the next article I looked at talked about dispute resolution design, and these dispute systems, first talking about them, they're designed so that individuals can address complaints that are both affecting them and might also be affecting management, and can also serve as a way to help management understand what could improve productivity, what could improve efficiency, and what can improve worker morale. This article dug deeper into difficulties that may arise from an established system that doesn't adapt or doesn't have flexibility. So with this type of system, it has conflict, where you see the worker in the bottom left image is being brought conflict from two different employees. And this employee, let's say, has had issues in the past and has gone to management before about this. They know how the system works, and they can use it as an advantage to better report this to have change implemented. On the other side of the argument, you can see if these two employees that are bringing conflict to her know how the system works, and they know there may be a loophole that this manager won't punish or scrutinize any employees for this type of interference, they're more likely to continue to do that interference knowing that they're not going to face any repercussions for it. So this article brought in an interesting idea that if there are repeat customers, as it called it, there are repeat offenses that aren't addressed, then those employees who continue to go through the process may use it to their own advantage. So the second article involving dispute resolution design that I looked at speaks about how biasness can tie itself into it, and that we need to be aware of this not only when we design the system, but also when we implement it. So when designing a system, a lot of these management styles incorporate a quote neutral party or a higher up manager having to step in to make the decision to resolve the conflict. But it can be really difficult for even higher management or a neutral party to remain completely neutral or to take previous biases out of the picture in the decision process. So this article looked at making sure that when we are making these decisions, if there are any biases, we address them out in the open and up front so that we're able to adjust and continue the negotiation process. It talked about the difficulty of establishing a system where there is no biasness because we've had previous work experiences with employees, or this type of negotiator has seen something similar to this before, which is why we rely on them as an expert. But we also need to remember that each organization is unique and each argument is unique, and that we need to address it in its own unique fashion. That doesn't mean we can't have an established set of rules to follow along in the negotiation process or a set of checks and balances along the way, but it means we need to be more aware that we can't just only follow the process every single time for every single decision. There will be unique arguments and unique disagreements. So the last article we're looking at is training involving conflict management and designing a system where we can train managers and employees to be able to handle conflict in an appropriate way to help progress the organization as best as possible. This article takes an interesting look, though, at how when we're training employees, we may have a system that has reached all the checks and balances that provides all the information, but doesn't mean all the managers are absorbing it and being able to apply it. And it really focused on the interpersonal issues, of communicating between people and making sure that the manager is not only able to absorb the information in the training, but to also use the information in their actions so that other employees are able to understand what they're implying. So it really focuses on we had a diagram in our book, Figure 8.1, from Collaborative Approaches to Resolving Conflict, that looked at preventing, resolving, and then managing or containing when dealing with a conflict. So it's really important that when they're training the managers, that they have the proper preparation to know how to create a work environment that best prevents the conflict from occurring in the first place. Then, if there is a conflict, they know how to best resolve and address the issue. And once that conflict is resolved, they're able to manage or contain the issue that's occurred so that the issue doesn't happen again. And now, by doing that, we're back in the prevention mode. So it's about not only educating themselves on how the process works in this circle of starting with prevention, but also communicating the importance to the employees of preventing conflict in the first place. So to close the presentation, I wanted to present one public administrative possible issue that could arise and look at all 4 articles as how they can help resolve the issue when implemented. So it's an issue I used in one of my papers, so I thought I'd share it in this presentation, where we have 2 employees in the same public administrative firm, and we only have 1 meeting time left to put on the schedule. And both employees see their meeting as urgent and should be filled in that spot. So when looking at conflict management, we can see that the first thing to do is to try to have a system set up to prevent the conflict from happening in the first place. Looking at both meetings to see, is there a possibility of delaying one of these meetings and making it a top priority for the next meeting time, having a system where we look at the list of priorities versus organizational goals to see maybe one is more important or more urgent than the other right now. Then it's the dispute resolution design to where if that's not enough, we have a way to resolve the issue. We have a way of having a negotiator or a neutral party there to hear both cases, to take the information, to cross-reference both meeting requests to see which might have more ties to the organizational goals for that meeting time. What would best bring the most successful and positive progress. And then it's training employees to make sure that they understand, both as a manager and as an employee, how the system works so that we can manage or contain the issue. Now that it's over, we can progress to an area where we're preventing it from happening in the first place. So the employee that doesn't have their meeting chosen knows why and knows next time that between these two, this meeting is going to get picked because of X and Y for our organization. But it's also training to show that the employee is passionate about their issue area, so it's not a punishment that they got defensive or wanted their meeting more than the other. It's just training them to show how the process came to a conclusion so that there's some closure. And that is the very difficult world of conflict management and designing the dispute resolution process.